All right. I think we can start. So yeah, welcome everyone. Uh, Welcome to the One Shot Show, where we have this kind of like weekly live stream session on Substack, where we are going to deep dive on how to use certain AI tools. Like, which is the goal is basically to show you how to navigate certain AI tools, and like to show you some study, and as well as like use case that you can take example from and use it in your daily workflow, so you can copy what we have done and adjust with how you work. Because like there are so much nuance on how to use AI, because we have so many tools and then people do it like very differently for one to another. So that's why we are having this one shot show to show you what are the possibilities that you can play around with. So in today's episode, we are going to talk about Cloud Code versus n8n, because I think there are a lot of questions around these tools, like which tools that I need to use, or like what are the use case, which one is better, or which one is the worst. I think the 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 option, or like the answer, is kind of nuanced. So I guess that's why we are having these conversations and deep dive on the use case. But before going to that, we just want to recap for the last 3 weeks, I guess, or like 4 weeks.
Yes.
So in the first episode, we have talked about uh, building a content AI research agent using Cloud Code. And the episode two, we talk about building newsletter repurposing engine using Google Opal. And last week we talk about Cloud Cowork in general, as well as a use case to run a Substack competitive analysis for your newsletter using Cloud Cowork, where Cowork is using Cloud in Chrome as a tools and then scraping all of your newsletter data using Firecrawl and CP. So if you guys haven't seen the episode, then you need to check out on our newsletter. We have everything covered. So today, which is like the Cloud Code and n8n. So Dheeraj, so if people stick to this episode, then what they are going to learn about Cloud Code versus n8n.
Yes. So thank you, Window, for setting up the context. Well, yeah, in today's lesson, as you are saying, like we are going to compare n8n versus Claude Code, and it has been like hottest topic these days as well
It is.
in the AI automation community. Like whether I should stick to n8n, whether I should have like Claude Code. If I'm like new to AI automation world, which is the tool that we should learn. So these are some of the questions I keep getting as well. I mean, like I also launched a free course, like which was very, very detailed, right, of n8n, and I completely shifted on Claude Code. So what is my journey around it, what I experience,
Yeah.
like knowing both sides of the world. So we are going to like deep dive each and every aspect, right from like how the usage looks like, how the similar workflows look like, and at the end we are going to compare like 8 categories, um vis-a-vis, and we are going to like talk about each of those categories and answer questions or score them, and finally we will have like a verdict, which one you should use, whether you should both of them. And there are so many nuances attached to it. And
Right.
every, I would say, like week, new things are happening, new things are getting added to the Claude Code side of the world,
True.
as well as
Yeah.
n8n as well. So we are going to like deep dive everything. And finally, you will have an answer, which is the AI automation tool that you should learn in this today's world. So let me, share my screen and we can like go from there. Can
Great.
you
Great.
see it?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, I think like there are, in terms of like the industry wise, right? I think I can see like a more of like, so the way I learn and I can basically coming from YouTube. So I watch a bunch of like YouTube videos, but I feel like there are a lot of like there has been a transition happening where
Yes.
people starting to move from Anakin into Cloud Code, because like
And
in Cloud Code you can do so much thing. But I guess like, yeah, I would like to really understand like the details of it, like how to make decisions, which tool to use, and what are the benefits for each one. So yeah,
right.
let's
Sure,
do it.
sure. And we do like and everyone over here, it's basically like we are comparing n8n but you can put make.com into the loop as well.
Right.
Like it's like whiz
Yeah.
whiz with n8n. So whatever we are going to compare, like Claude Code with n8n, applies to make as well as
Do,
Zapier as well.
do you
Similarly,
think also do you think also it's relevant with Zapier user as well? Because I think Zapier
yes,
in the same
yes,
space with
right.
make.com and I can, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. And we'll also drop hints of like where Claude Cowork comes into play as well. So, I mean, all through,
Right.
I have this, kind of high level agenda, more like, what question was asked in like episode one, the Claude Code tour. So, what I have done is like I have built the same workflow of the AI research agent that we implemented in both Claude Code and n8n. We are going to go through there. Then we are going to live edit, see the experience of live edit of like any type of edit or customization that you have to make, side by side comparison of both parts, what the output looks
Right.
like, then comparison, and then finally the verdict that we have. So that's the high level agenda. And just recapping on the first episode where we built an AI research agent live with you guys, that's where we use Claude Code in order to build a AI research agent. So let me open that. And many of the questions that were coming was around, okay, is it something that we can only do in Claude Code? Is this
Right.
something can be done in n8n as well or make.com as well? So I'm going to walk you all through how the same workflow looks like in both worlds. So this is Claude Code. So if I open Claude over here, so right now Claude is open. So you can see the folder structure that we have for this agent is content researcher agent is a markdown file. So if I just, oh, let me close this, and let's open in the preview mode. So you can see that for an AI research agent for a Claude Code, it is basically, okay, sorry, I have a brief. I have to open this. Yeah. So now this is more like a content research agent. So here you can see that it's pure English, like natural language that we use, we communicate with. That's all that is written in terms of the agent file. So all you do is come over here, create an agent, define what you want. So what we have defined is that we have created this research profiles over here. Content strategy is present
Mhm.
in this folder. Competitor watch list is present in this folder. What is the process like? What is, again, plain English, understand the request, what topics are we researching, what is avatar. Web research, we are telling it that, hey, use the MCP tool that we have, Perplexity, run batches. So this is more like the cost optimization that we have done, search one, search two. Then a
Mhm.
competitor analysis, we would use Firecrawl to scrape the content. And then, like, backup is webfetch or Gina AI. That is like a free version of if Firecrawl is out of credit. Then we had like synthesize findings, and we told it this should be the output format. So when we run it, we all have to do is like run a research on. So for example, I can just say run a research on bike tour to Ladakh in 2026. Right. So if I enter it, so it will start working as an agent, right? Um, so this took the query, and now it will research on this particular topic. So that's all you have to do in Claude Code when you build an agent, much like a research agent, right?
Right.
Again, some of the files are like, claude.md files, research profiles are over here. All that we described in plain simple English, right? So this is Claude Code for us. Uh, the output that would get generated would also be put over here, wherever we have defined. So for example, I think I had defined somewhere, a research brief is there. So by post, it is going to provide or output these kinds of research briefs, right? So this is how you interact as for an agent in Claude Code. Now let's look at the same version that is doing the same job in n8n. So if I switch to Chrome, let's come over here. All right. So let me just open this copy to editor. Okay. So this is how the same agent looks like in n8n. So n8n, you can quickly see that It is very visual. While when we were over here, it was like bunch of files that are there, right? But we were basically communicating in plain simple English. We were talking in English, and it is basically working or doing the job for us. The entire agent is defined in English, right? Nothing, I would say, nothing to learn much about the technology behind it. Over here, when we look at, we have so many nodes. First of all, you can see that, right? Uh, it is very visual. Now you can completely understand how the flow is going through. So first, what I have over here is like input and context. So here we are going to set the topic. So for example, the similar topic, Spiti Valley road trip planning. We have the research at this is the time that we are doing research. Then if we move ahead, this is where the business context is being loaded, right? So instead of like files reference, now like I have hard
Hmm.
coded that into a variable, right? So all this
Hmm.
whole profile is present over here, and you can like define more files or more context here as well. You can fetch it from your Google Drive or something. So you need to add a node over here, fetch it from Google Drive or database as well, right? So that's how like
Yeah.
you are replacing your file search or file system with more like somewhere you can fetch, somewhere n8n can access it. Then you generate the search queries, and here I'm using Perplexity. There is a Perplexity node as well that you can use. I'm deliberately not using it. I'm using the HTTP nodes over here so that I have more control over like what calls I can make, what parameters I can fine tune. Specifically, I don't want like cost too much, so that's why for more control perspective I'm using these HTTP nodes over here. Then
I
once
have a question.
Mhm.
I have one question. Why the perplexity has two nodes there?
Yeah,
Can
so
you go back to the
basically,
visual node? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So what is happening here is like we are making two calls. So I try to explain it here. So the two
Okay.
nodes why we have is like first is we are making like a generate search queries. So this is generating search queries,
Mm-hmm.
which is all one. And then we are finding practical info using Sonar Pro and competitor analysis using Sonar Pro. So this is what we are doing in parallel with these two nodes. So that's why we
Mm.
have like research done in parallel and competitive analysis also done in parallel. We could put in like sequential as well, but this will be more efficient.
Oh, got it.
So
Yeah, because like if I understand like the way Cloud Code works, right? So basically, you can just tell the Perplexity to run like multiple search query and then merge it together. But if we take a look in terms of like how and I can apply it, is basically you need to have these two nodes running at the same time, and then it eventually merge into like a one research result. And then I think the next node is basically to trigger the result, to trigger the research queries, right, altogether.
uh, right. So basically, you can do that window over here as well, right? You can like define what query that you want, right?
Hmm.
So right now, for example, I'm defining this query over here, and you can see that it is comma separated, right? Uh,
Yeah.
However, the intent of these search queries are different, right? So what we did is like at the first, we kind of created these search queries again
Hmm.
using Perplexity. Then we are breaking it down, and then we are saying that, hey, for the practical info, use this. So all the search queries related to practical info are clubbed together
I
in
see.
this, and all the competitor analysis queries are clubbed together over here. So similar concept that you can club. If I club all of these three together, then the result output would be more like polluted, like with different types of intent. Then it will be difficult to identify. So that's why like I created three nodes, three different intents, and three different
Right.
outputs, right?
Got it.
And then
Yeah, yeah.
we are merging everything so that the
Mhm.
uh, so that you also have the model that you are using of Perplexity, what type of information you can get. So you have like more fine-tuned control over here of what is happening behind the scenes.
Got
So
it.
once
Yep.
you do that, you collect all the research data, right? And then like, you get this whole practical research here. It keeps on going through. This is like scraping, Firecrawl, okay, yes, parse the results. It Gina AI as a fallback. So if Firecrawl is out of credit, So this is where like Gina AI comes in, where it's like a free tool. You can use that and parse the results. And then finally we are doing a synthesis prompt, and this is where the AI synthesis is happening, where we are making an AI call. Again, over here
Yeah.
I could use like a simple chain as well, uh, but I decided, or in fact Claude decided to use this code. I could replace it with the help of, I would say, a simple AI chain node or an AI agent as well. No need of AI agent here, because it's like simple workflow, deterministic. We know the steps, so we can use like a simple LLM chain node over here, and then we are formatting the output, and a research is complete. So you can see that the similar output is generated here as well. But overall, I had to like, or basically if someone is creating an n8n workflow, you have to know about all these nodes, right? You have to
Yeah.
understand the intricacies, that okay, these two things work in parallel. What is like a merge node kind of thing, right? And then like
Yeah.
you have to yourself define firecrawl, if okay, as a backup. Use this, like, so you are defining, you are implementing as a human, right? So this is more like a deterministic way of putting. And I
Yeah.
think we touched upon this aspect as well in Claude Cowork session as well, that Claude Cowork is more like AI driven,
Hmm.
whereas something like make.com or other, yeah, I think like we compared n8n as well with it. It is not like more of something that you are, as a human, you are writing the AI automation around it. So similar stuff
Hmm.
we are seeing over here as well. And if I open the Claude Code part of it, and when we look at this particular thing, let me like reopen this, close this agent. So again, for defining the backup, we just said somewhere down over here that hey, for the backup, use either the fetch tool like over here, right? Or primary tool over here. So we are not
Yeah.
doing any kind of plumbing, we are just defining in plain English. So that's how like both the outputs, right? The output from here as well as the output from n8n would be more or less similar. So if I go back here and let me show you like how the output compares.
Yeah,
So
because like the first thing that I realized comparing NICAN and Cloud Code, when I look at the node, the visual node, right, it looks like very complex. It's not like really simple because like the way we use Cloud Code, we just use a plain English and we just define the goal and then set up like a criteria or like guardrails and everything with plain English, right? I don't need to
right.
go through these like notes and tie them up together all together and then eventually get the outputs on which is whether it is MD or like Google Docs or
Right.
any other formats. But again, like I need to really understand what does this each node actually doing and how they can interact with each other and then how to make the output A into the input B and eventually passing them all together and get the final result, which is yeah, for me it's so complex where if I use Cloud Code is way easier. uh,
That's
yeah,
true.
way easier. But also like I think the process kind of similar as well because like you still need to have the context file that
Yes.
contains all of your research context, right, and understand like
Right.
who you are and what you do and then what your goals are. But
Right.
yeah, looking at the NICAN is way complex for me.
Right. So I mean, like I put it, like you have put it, like I put it also this way, that hey, if you are clear about the problem that you are solving, right,
Yeah.
you would have mapped it somewhere. So without mapping the problem, I never solve a problem, like be it AI, be it not AI, right? So when I have mapped the problem, then only I'll go and build it. Now the building part is up to you now. If you have defined it in plain conversation English, I'll just go ahead, dump it into Claude Code and start working with it in plain natural English. Again, not to take any credits from n8n, I'm a big fan. I have been an educator for like almost 1.5 years of n8n, doing courses and all whatnot, right?
Yeah.
But still, having used both of them thoroughly now, I feel for me, and again, we are going to compare other aspects as well, but the ease of use is more like natural language for me. I'll just put it out there and then let
Yeah.
Claude figure it out for me, like much
Yeah.
you are saying, right? And you need to understand all these nodes. You need to have that learning curve from n8n perspective in order to build that. This is pretty much simple, but I have been, building a lot of very complex one where you also need to understand the data structures behind it, right? The JSON. Whereas
Right.
in Claude Code, I don't need to understand all that stuff. Everything is happening abstracted behind the scenes, right? And like, for example, like I have like a section where what happens like if you have to edit something, right? Now,
Right.
for me, let's suppose a lot of debate, if you look at online communities, are going on. Hey, it is very easy to give a visual version of to someone, and the person will just understand it, assume it. This is how it works. I can give this to client as well. Like, for example, there is an AI automation agency who builds workflows or automation for the customers. What is the experience for the customer, right? Can they build it? Of course they can. Like, they can visually see how the process is mapped, but do they know n8n? Have they learned n8n? If they have learned n8n, yes, of course they can just jump into the workflow that the agency has provided them and fix it because it is visual, right? That is what it is. So if I look at, for example, if I give this workflow or agent to someone, and somebody wants to add, for example, a new competitor, right? We are doing a competitive analysis. Let's suppose this company is there and I want to like add it as a competitor over here. So what I would do in n8n, or like what the other company would do in n8n, where this has been handed over, is load your business context, right? Find
Hmm.
out where you have defined the competitor. So for example, over here the direct competitors are here, right? And then like here I'll just go ahead and define like what is, the other one, right? So we have like photo, and I'll define like what this means. For example, excellent track guides with difficulty ratings. So this is more like a community, or it is already defined over here, right? Report.com, user generated travel content, travel destination. So that's how you add a competitor, like a minor edit. You just open up a node, or figure out what setting is, understand and edit that. In Claude Code, what I would do is, like, I also again, open up a file, right? So for example, the competitor watch list over here, right? I'll just come over here and add a row, and just simple as that, right? Now,
Yeah.
this is a very simple use case, but there could be a complex scenario as well. In that case, in n8n, you would have to go and figure that out yourself, how the workflow is, where that parameter lies. But even if I don't know that this competitor watch list had this in for me, I can just ask, can you add a competitor for me? So if I enter in Claude Code, it is going to tell me because it understands the project, right? It is going to tell me
Yep.
that yes, which competitor would you like to add, name, website. It is asking me question, and I don't have to do it. I'm just like interacting with plain English. And why I'm giving this example is because what we are demonstrating is more set a bunch of markdown files, but it could be code as well, right? So in code, what happens? Similar stuff that you have to do. Like, you have to just come over here, talk to Claude Code, and the thing would get done, right? So that's how
Yeah.
I see it in both ways. And I talked about these aspects like many times to some of the students that come for teaching, and what to do, whether I should learn n8n right now, go through your course, which is of course like so many things. So that's how like I tell them as well that, and we are going to talk about later as we come over there. But now coming back, like, we saw that same agent was there but two different paths. So this was the Claude Code one, where you had like bunch of files, terminal, and then like same output is there. n8n, you have like trigger, context data, AI agent, or the simple LLM chain, HTTP, Perplexity, output results, same format, right? So summary, finding, sources, gap, angle, outline, output is same. It's just that two different ways of achieving the same output here. Again, the structure match. Where is n8n edged ahead? Maybe like 15 is to 6 cited. But this is like very probabilistic in nature, because what I had compared the outputs, the queries were a little different. One was querying about Ladakh, the other one was querying about Spiti. So that could be a
Yeah.
thing, but overall, the hook was there. Editorial flair from Claude Code perspective was edge ahead.
Yeah.
So some nuances are there. However, nothing like very critical, which is different in terms of the output, because behind the scenes both are using LLM. Which LLM you end up using, that's where the results would matter, and how you have structured things. So now comes the part, we deep dive into this n8n versus Claude Code. And what I have done is, like, I've tried to map over here different parameters. So, and window, we can like talk about, try to rate them. So the first one you can see here is like the learning curve. And for n8n, I would say like it is visual, but it is complex because there is a learning curve. You need to understand nodes, data mapping, JSON paths, expressions. So you need few weeks to have proficiency. Even in like my course, there are like 47 lessons. Like if somebody has to like deep dive into it, it's about 30 plus hours, right? So if you have to master n8n, that's the amount of time in training only, like you are seeing, and then you have to practice as well. So there is definitely a learning curve that I see. Claude Code, again, a lot of people get afraid. We talked about in the last few lives as well. A lot of people get afraid with the word code in it, but hardly I would say
Especially
with code.
the terminal. I think a lot of people are afraid with the terminal thing, I guess.
Yes, yes, and what I have seen over here, over the research as well, when you try to Google, when you try to ask Claude or LLM or ChatGPT that, hey, I want to like use Claude Code, can I use? Lot of the information that gets returned is more in the form of Claude Code writes code. Okay, it writes code. It is writing
Right.
code for me. But what does it matter? I don't even see what code it has written, right? I have created
Yeah.
like quite a few products now with Claude Code, like vibe coding them. As long as I understand like the overall architecture of it, who cares? Like, what code it is writing. I even created like a backup app for, my hard drives backing up in different external hard drives. It was like a Swift Mac app, and I have zero clue about what is Swift, right? I have never seen it.
Yeah.
I don't even know what is existing in the code. As long as the application is working for me, which I built with Claude Code using a plain conversation English, that's pretty much it for me. So terminal, yes, that's why I put it up. Maybe for 5 minutes it looks scary, but now you have a desktop app which is almost at par with the terminal. So you can use the Claude desktop app to get over the fear of Claude code or terminal side of it. So
Yeah.
all of you who are watching, I mean, you don't need to worry about the
I,
code word in Claude Code.
yeah. So I think there is also like a misleading information, I guess, around Cloud Code, where maybe some of most people thought like Cloud Code is for engineers as well, while it's not only for engineers. Yeah, it's built like in the beginning for engineers, but turns out like you can do so
Right,
much thing with the typical knowledge work that we are doing. And just run everything in Cloud Code. Like for example, I built my newsletter inside of Cloud Code with just a plain English. But I get the concern, or like why people reluctant to use Cloud Code, because like it's a terminal, and what the hell is terminal thing doing, and like should I do code or not, or like how
right,
should I interact with Cloud Code inside of terminal. And also that's kind of like yeah, of course, like some people find it like confusing, and I think that's the reason why most people don't jump into Cloud Code, and
right,
maybe they use Cowork instead. But I guess like after, yeah, I tried both of these tools, and I feel like the learning curve is way more exponential. I think both have like a learning curve for sure, but I
yes,
think in terms
yes,
of like the one that is more exponential, given like if you learn it more, then it will increase your capabilities as a it feels like a superhuman for me.
yeah,
It's a yeah, of course it's Cloud Code. So I think it's worth of all of the effort of learning on the terminal, and learning creating files, and learning to building a context, the right
right,
context management.
right,
So
right,
and so like if you couldn't if you feel stuck on doing it, you can
Anything.
also just ask Claude basically
Right. Right. Right.
to
What to
help
do?
you unlock
Exactly.
the bottleneck, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, I think that's a quiet unlock for me. While and I can, yeah, again, you still need to do it manually, but I also have tips for like improving workflow. And I can you can also download the JSON file from and I can and throw it to Cloud Code, right? Or like
Yes.
Cloud
Yes. So
or
yeah,
like Cloud Cowork
I'll
and
I'll
and
I'll talk about that
adjust
part.
the JSON. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk about that part. I mean, like how you can use Claude Code
Okay.
to build n8n, right? So, I mean, like, but for the learning curve perspective as a parameter window over here, do you agree? Like, I think probably even I would try to rate it like 2 if I just have to do like learning curve, because there is a
Yeah,
decent amount of learning curve. Even if you get a template,
yeah,
it might work for you as a demo, but then like when you put it into production, things go messy. Then you need to learn n8n around it. So probably like for
yeah.
me, it could be like 2 as well.
Yeah, same for me. I think the reason is too as well because you'll hit ceiling fast. You'll hit ceiling at certain point. You will hit the ceiling, and you need and then you start asking what should I learn next, right?
Right.
While if you
Right.
are in cloud code, there are a lot of like possibilities that you can do. So
Right.
I think aside from cloud code, has like a learning curve, but it's also like higher ceiling. So it
Right.
you'll be less likely to hit the ceiling, and then you
Right.
can be achieving more or like learn so
Yes.
much
Yes.
more if you
Right.
if you stick to cloud code.
I completely agree. Completely agree. So let's like lock it 2 versus 4 on the first one.
Yep.
The
Yep.
building speed drag, I mean, again, we saw this. Let's suppose if you have to build this, like I know everything about n8n, like, doing it like for a very long time, all the nodes, how and the decision making, like why I did not use the native node, why I use the HTTP node over here, right? If I have to build this, probably it's at least like couple of hours job for me. Frankly speaking, like,
Yeah.
mapping out the process, identifying error scenarios, all that, probably like at least couple of hours it will take me doing this entire thing, right? That's like, I would say it's drag and drop, configure, wire, you test it out, and then like couple of hours easily to do this node when I know all about n8n, which node to pick,
Yep.
how to pick, how to handle error scenarios and all.
Yep.
But if you build in Claude Code, we demonstrated live in our like first session. I don't think like it took like the full hour. We were also talking about a lot more stuff. The same agent got built like probably like in 30 minutes, maybe 35, maybe 40, right? 20
Yep.
minutes if I minus like the other talks that we had on the live call. So within 40 minutes, we were able to build. Of course, the underlying requirement is that you understand the basics of Cloud Code, you understand the foundations that you are already solved in the learning curve. But then when the building speed is, you're just talking in plain English, and it is very easy to
Exactly.
talk in plain English and very fast, especially with the tools. If you dictate like Whisperflow and all, it
Hmm.
becomes like very, very easy to work with Cloud Code, right? Because now you are not even typing, right? So your hands are
Yep.
free, you're just talking, just building with it. So that ways I feel like, again, over here, I would definitely rate building speed is very fast in Claude Code. Maybe like I can even rate it 5, whereas like this could go as 2 or a 3 for me.
I would go with two though. It's hard. Like you need to map out all of these notes and tie them up all together, and then eventually, and also like testing them as well. It
Yes.
will take time.
Right.
And yeah, I would go with two for building speed though. And again,
Okay. Okay. Now moving on, this is my favorite part, the scope and the ceiling, right? So one thing a lot of people say that, hey, if you want to like build production things, go with n8n, right? This is like a common theme if you look at like Reddit forums or many, many,
yeah.
people who are like so attached. And again, I'm telling again and again, I'm very attached to n8n because I had been doing it like for 1.5 years, right? And I teach it like, even for many of the students that come to those courses. But still, the ceiling for n8n is just more or less the backend, right? You can create
Hmm.
any apps backend, and that backend is also limited to first of all, your knowledge, right? Secondly, the number of nodes or community nodes, if even if you are self-hosting it. So anything or backend that you are creating for your front end app, or if it is just an automation, then it's just a backend. That's fine, right? You can like just do a 1:1 comparison. But for n8n, it is more like deterministic automation and backends only. Plus, it is has a ceiling of the nodes that are there. Of course, you can build a custom node, but then you need to be
Mhm.
an engineer. You need to understand code. Of course, you can use code node in order to get workaround, for a node that is not there. Of course, you can use complex http calls. That, yes, you can do that, but all this requires technical knowledge. Non-technical user may find it a little difficult to use code. Of course, AI is there, you can use AI to build those codes, but again, you are going into a territory of now coding instead of no code or visual category, right? And plus,
Yeah.
it has a ceiling of only backends. Whereas with Claude Code, you can now, like, there is no ceiling at all. You can build like an agent who is searching the web with connected ecosystem, or you can build like a full blown app, right? Front end as well as back end. You can deploy it. You can manage the server. So you can even build n8n workflows. And believe me, like this n8n workflow over here is built by Claude Code, right? I just talked to Claude Code and the entire workflow was built. Of course, it won't get you like 100%. You have to come in over here and then you have to
Yeah.
edit few things. But it
Yeah.
now, if you have set up the Claude Code project to work with n8n, that's pretty much it. Like, it gets you almost to 90%, 95%, and for simple workflow it will get you like 100% as well. And it you can ask Claude Code to define the entire backend, test it out. All that stuff you can do with Claude Code. So basically, for me, there is no ceiling at all. When it comes to Claude Code, you can build any type of app.
Yeah. I would think so as well.
So over here as well, like, I'll just, because there is no ceiling,
I
like you were
think
mentioning, like superhuman kind of a
yeah.
thing, or kind of a thing which has like superpowers. That's what it means to have Claude Code.
Yep. Agree.
Scheduling part, this is where I believe like n8n wins. Like, if you want to schedule something, have it up and running, the webhook integrations, like, which is something up and running always there, I believe like there is still, and visual monitoring as well. Like, for example, you can just go ahead and check the for example, if I go over here and let's go to the execution, so you would see like all my workflows in the execution. I can basically just open up anything and just see, like, what is happening behind scenes. This is more like an AI cost scanner that happens every few hours. So I mean, like, I can just go and visually see or debug anything over here. So from the scheduling part, I think there is cron job, webhooks, retry, but Claude Code is getting over there. You have now loop, you have scheduling in Cowork. It's getting there, but still behind the scenes, it's like a duct tape kind of a thing, where like you can define cron jobs. You can ask Claude Code to create schedulers, to create these cron jobs or launch CTL jobs in your Mac so that they can keep on running. So I mean, things are there, but it is not as mature as n8n provides out of the box, or make provides out of the box.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is also what differentiate Anakin with all of their all of their space, right? Which is including like Make.com or Zapier, which is like their superpower is basically connecting with multiple tools as well as scheduling everything. So it's
Right.
way easier. So I have like Make.com automation and it runs like every day to give me like AI news that I need to read.
Hmm.
So it's it basically works and in the backend without
Right.
having me to involved in day-to-day basis or like doing this because like in Cloud Code I still need to do
To be
requests on myself
right.
while also Cloud Code has like this loop which is the new feature but it's not like as seamless or
Right.
like as using like a schedule feature uh compared to NACAN or like Zapier or Make.com. And I think this is also explains why OpenClaw has been gaining so much of attention because like you can do all of this inside of OpenClaw
Right.
And yeah, you can set up the schedule, you can set up the heartbeat, you can set up the automation.
Right.
So I think that's kind of like a I think that's the kind of like the direction that we are moving towards, which is we have this agent running 24/7, but it's not like really deterministic as n8n or markdown or
Right.
Zapier. But you can have like this, but this agent has like so much more context around who you are, and
Right.
you can trigger it like anytime you want from your phone, from schedule, or like from heartbeat and so on. I think that's kind of like giving, yeah, I think that's kind of like the direction that I'm seeing. That's why you can see this menace and also perplexity computer going
Right.
towards
Right.
this way. But yeah, I think that's I I think that's where these tools basically really
Right.
shine compared to what's Cloud Code can do right now, which is
Right.
moving towards that direction as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. But if we look at the current scenario, probably I'll give it like two. Because then like and then like maybe five over here, maybe three. I mean with
I would go
loop.
3, yeah, because like they have this loop and they have this patch as well, and they
Right.
also have
Right.
the channel, right? That
Right.
just
Correct. Yeah.
recently just
Channels are
launched.
also released. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
channels is already
Yeah.
there, so
And
it's
above all, you can ask it that, hey, I want to schedule this. What are my options? It is going to
right,
figure the option for you and do it, right? So I
right,
mean, like for my blog, it's like on my local system, but it created like a launch CTL job, which is configured to run like every night, like at 9 p.m. And it just takes care of the maintenance of the blog, right? So that way, the power is there, but you need to just brainstorm with it. So yeah, let's
right,
keep it, but like this is very very convenient in terms of n8n
yeah,
um, and make.com or Zapier. Now comes the debugging part. So this is where like I was explaining that if you hand it over to someone, which I have like a 6 point as well, but like click a failed node, see exact input output, rerun at any point, visual branches, right? So this is what I documented kind of for the debugging. But here on the Claude Code side, I would say you just like talk to Claude Code. You say that, hey, I'm
yeah,
seeing this error. I was testing this app, or I was like using my app. There is this error, take a screenshot, right? So using some of the apps that I've launched, a lot of users give me feedback that, hey, Dheeraj, this is not working. So I just like take the screenshot of the error that they have given. Even if they have explained it into text, I just dump it into Claude Code, right? Like paste it into Claude Code and say, hey, this is not working, figure it out, what is happening. It is going to run its own magic right behind the scenes,
yeah,
like code review and all, and tell me that, hey, I found the issue, this was happening maybe because of this thing. And it kind of like somehow even found those very tricky bugs as well, which is like even for manual person sometimes it's like difficult to replicate, because you can only limit yourself to as a human to certain amount of scenarios, but it can run like endless scenarios. So that ways to me, even though visual, for example, if I open this, the visual editing, if the error is over here, I can just open and see what is wrong with over here, and then like I can fix it. So to me, like it is also easy. But here I'm just talking, pasting screenshots, and this is where I think a lot of I would say my disagreement is there with the sentiment that is out there in various forums, or when you talk about people who have been n8n ambassadors or people who have been doing n8n for so long. I think this is where I kind of disagree with them, because they always put n8n being visual and easy to debug. I had no issues in debugging any of my even complex to complex apps that have been built using Claude
yeah.
Code, just by having a plain conversation.
Yeah, yeah, this is what I've been doing as well. Like if I doing vibe coding, so it's easier. I can just take a screenshot, and even if I cannot find the issue, I can just ask Cloud Code to implement the
Right,
debugging code, and then you can see on your browser on the console log system, right? And you can see like, okay, the debugging code tells me this. Then I would just copy pasting the debugging response, code
right,
response, and then tell it to Cloud, this is what's happening on console log. Then it will just figure out its way its own way to fixing it. So I guess
Right.
I think you can also, yeah, you can also do this with n8n, but there is like a lot of back and forth between you and n8n and Claude Code to basically asking you uh, to fix the code, and like you ask Claude Code to fix it. But in Claude Code, it's basically it's way easier because you can just plain English and then just fix it, and Claude Code can execute it directly
Right.
in your setup, so you
Right.
don't have to do this back and forth multiple times. It's just like a plain conversation and much more seamless to do. I think that's the how Cloud Code can win in
Right.
this
Right.
debugging
Right.
process.
So maybe like a slight winner, I would say like maybe 3 over here and 4 here.
Yeah,
And why I'm doing it is like, although I had thing in my mind like this is a tie, but why I think is here you are working as a partner, right? Here,
yeah,
even though it is visual, you are figuring it out yourself, right? What could be wrong?
yeah,
If you
yeah,
can get into like debugging loops, figuring out all yourself what is wrong with it, what the error means, how to fix this error, then you would go and chat GPT or Claude that, hey, this what the error. So here you are doing all the legwork. There is no AI behind it, right? If the error is there.
right.
Here you are
Yeah,
working with a partner. So that's why like completely Claude Code win for me, and a complete disagreement with all the people who like to say that visual is more easy to debug, but in practice I have not realized that. Then day to day and handoff, this is what the thing that I was talking about, like visual overview at glance, modifying needs node knowledge. That is the main requirement. So even if you hand off to anyone like any other developer, n8n needs a prerequisite that they should understand n8n in order to work on that visual workflow. It is
yeah,
visual, they will be easily able to understand it, but the prerequisite is knowing the n8n, right? But overall,
yeah,
here in Claude Code, you just hand over the project. And if I knew Claude Code properly, I would have structured the Claude Code in a way that anybody can just download. For example, if we take this example, we provided, I think, yeah, we provided the entire code, right, or the agent file. Anybody can just like copy this into their system because it is well structured. All they have to do is start asking over here. Maybe like the
exactly.
query they might, maybe the query they might say is that, hey, find me a good topic on, let's suppose, plumbing, right, to write in 2026. Now plumbing, this whole project is for travel industry, right, a travel blog. The Claude Code is going to figure it out that, hey, you are asking me plumbing, but this whole project is set up, or your context profiles, which is in the research profiles, is set up as a travel blogger, right? Do you want me to update? This is going to tell that person that, hey, let's update these files. So you can ask Claude Code to update all these files without knowing these files exist. So the moment you write wrong thing, it is not going to like, maybe it will do, then you will see the answer because it is probabilistic. I'm not saying, it will never do, but chances are that it would understand the context, and by probabilistic nature, it is going to tell the end user that, hey, you are doing a wrong thing. This is set up for travel. Even if not, it is going to provide the output. You would say that, hey, what did you produce? I talked about plumbing, in general plumbing, right? And then you convert. So to me, like, again, handoff is not a very big deal. I'll just rate it like this way only, here as well, like, because of the knowledge that you require in both the systems to be there.
Yeah, and also like one thing on the handoff, you can also use the README files for the handoff as well, right? On the Cloud Code, so people who just need to understand it can read the README file, and from there it can actually understand the whole setup easily.
Right. Right. Then comes the cost. So for, let's suppose we compare the cost of it. For Claude Code Pro is like $20, but Max can let you do so many things like for $100, right, a month. And if you are like not a power user, Pro is okay. Then you can go ahead, use that Pro version, see how the usage limits is. But if you are like doing actively some stuff, building things, you would need like max at some point. With all the craziness happening with the usage limit since last couple of weeks, I think like if my max is maxing out in peak hours in like 4 or 5 queries, I bet like couple of queries would be there in pro version of it. So that ways, I think like if you get like max $100 is your cost, then but it covers majority of the things, right? It covers the LLM cost as well for you for any system that you build. But from the n8n perspective, you would need it's free, right? You can self-host, but with self-host comes lot of different challenges, like where will you self-host? I am self-hosting, but then I have to manage the entire Oracle server, which is a free server for me. um, Again, how do I manage it? I don't know like IT kind of management of a server. I don't know Linux. I don't know the administration, the security part of it. Again, I'm
Yep.
using Claude to manage the entire server for me. So that's an irony as well, that I'm having an n8n deployment, but I'm using Claude Code to manage the entire server of n8n, including the backups, regular sanity checks, health checks of the server, security updates, patching. Everything is done by Claude Code for my server, right? Uh, but if I had to use the cloud version of n8n, I have to pay $24 a month if I'm paying monthly plan, otherwise $20 for yearly plan. But then like you are restricted to 2500 execution. It looks too much when you start with n8n, but believe me, like when you start deploying the workflows, for example, I have this AI cost scanner, for example, that scans all the cost incurring in my all workflows. It is running like almost 5, 6, 7 times a day, and then you multiply that, right? Some of the workflows which are like kind of heartbeat kind of a thing are probably running like every hour. If you are checking some Google Docs, some sensitive thing is there, right? You are going to like exhaust that 2500 very quickly, then you will end up increasing the cost of the plan. If you compare this with make.com or others, they have much more, no, I would say like non-determinate or non-forecasted or difficult to forecast kind of cost when you go to like make.com, because it depends on steps, the complexity of the workflow and all, right, window. So that
Yep.
ways I believe, and then on top of it you would have to pay for LLM cost, and LLM cost,
Yep.
for example, Claude would be very very costly if you are just using the API, right? So API is like I think almost 20 times costlier than if you are using the subscription. So that ways you end up paying the LLM fees as well. Rest of the fees are like more or less okay. So that ways I think like if you are going with the cloud version, more or less similar things, but you get much more from Cloud Code to do. But just if we compare the cost perspective, I can maybe say it's a tie. Um, do
Yeah.
you or do you think like Claude Code Max plan is super crazy?
No, I think one of the things that we need to consider is basically what are other things that we can do given the cost that we have. For example, like if I pay like 100 per month for Cloud Max plan, but also like I can do so much thing, like other things as well. I can do vibe coding. I can build a
Apps,
website. I can build custom apps and everything, or
right?
like
Scaling is unlimited,
build agent as well. Yeah, yeah. The possibilities are unlimited. While given with the same cost, let's say in Anakin, yeah, you are limited with what Anakin can do.
right?
So I think, yeah, so that's why I think like a Cloud Code is winner here. Given it really depends on like the possibility or like the capabilities that you want to use. But if you want to do so much thing, I think that's where Cloud Code can win. But if you just want to automate certain of your work, then maybe and it can way more make sense. But again, like you still need to build it manually and everything. So
Yeah, you will
I
need to
think in terms of
deploy it
cost
somewhere.
wise, yeah,
You will need to deploy it somewhere, and you would end up having at least $12 to $15 if you are not able to get the Oracle free tier, which is very difficult to get. You need to like automate many things to get that machine. But if you get that kind of machine, then yes, like it's free. You just need to manage it through something else. So for example, my Claude Code manages my servers which are there, right? So that way is like
Yeah.
it becomes easier. So I mean, like I'll say 3 to 4. And finally,
Mhm.
like scalability part. So this is like more nodes, harder to maintain. When I say more nodes, harder to maintain means if you're not using the cloud version of it, and even if you are using the cloud version of it, you need to be at a certain plan to get like dedicated resources for you. If you are using your own self-hosted version, you need to scale the n8n instance, and the moment you have like images processing in your n8n workflows, you need to understand in-depth concepts of how you can put parallel instances in place, how you can put caching. So all that stuff, you need to understand the technical architecture behind n8n, and put like some caching on top of it in order for it to perform. So that fine tuning of the performance needs to happen. And again, ironically, because I had been so much deep into n8n, I'm using Claude Code to
Yeah.
optimize everything of my server right now. Whatever is left over now in n8n for me, I cannot like completely get rid of it unless until like I move everything. But till the time I don't do it, I mean, Claude is managing everything, like right from the performance to security and all the aspects of my server. So that way is, I think, like from the Claude Code perspective, this is where I think from a vibe coder's perspective, things are a little different. Like if you don't understand the basics of software architecture, you are going to like have some faults over here, right? Because you
Yeah.
won't be able to understand what to tell Claude Code. So you would tell the functional
Yeah.
requirement, that is fine. But then there is a set of non-functional requirements as well, right? Like the security part of it, the performance part of it, reliability part of it. If you don't understand those basics of like software architecture or software engineering, then whatever you are going to build with Claude Code is bound to kind of, to an extent, suffer when it gets put into production at a scale, right? Maybe it will work as a demo, maybe it will work at a small user base, but the moment you start to scale, that's when you would have some conversations where I see people like who DM me start to struggle, especially like when Claude says that, hey, I'm going to deploy this on Railway. I'm going to deploy this on Cloud Player or Vercel, or I'm going
Yeah.
to use Supabase. Like if you don't understand
Right.
all these aspects of deployment or and the deployment architecture and what to use, what not to use, that's when you will start to struggle with Claude Code as well. But in terms of the processing of the workflow that you have created or the pipeline that you have created for yourself, it is Claude's hardware or infrastructure that you are using. So that is sorted. At least your workflow for yourself will not struggle. But if you are building custom apps in both of them, I think you have the prime responsibility. So there is a tie over there for me. Like whatever apps you are outputting from these apps, you need to manage that for the scalability, performance side of it, even the security side of it. But I would say like if you are running the entire workflow for yourself, then you don't need to worry about the performance within Claude Code, while you need to worry about the performance in n8n because you need to up the performance of your n8n server. So there is this slight advantage that Claude Code gets when it is 1:1.
Yeah. And also like this scalability, I think it really depends on our technical knowledge as well. So not only the cloud code, not only talking between cloud code versus NHN capabilities, but also like whether we understand like how to scale it and
Right,
what are the software architecture that we need to implement. So I think that's another question that we need to ask ourselves, as opposed whether the tools actually can do it. The tools actually can do it, but again, right, it requires of our knowledge if we
right.
can implement it, I think.
Right. I agree. I agree. So I think that's the final score. We have 23 versus 32. So
So
the winner is Claude Code, it seems. But let's see. We talked about the deterministic and probabilistic nature of it. I would still recommend, if you already learned n8n, you know, understand and n8n, then if you have something which is like very, very straightforward, simple steps. Go ahead, build it out in n8n with the help of Claude Code now. Don't build
Yeah.
manually. Don't need to like do the legwork anymore. We are living in AI age. So don't build manually. Use the MCP server of n8n, configure it. And if you need like any help, like I can also provide some inputs. So you need to just configure your project, and then like n8n is going to like the Claude Code is going to help build the n8n workflow. But if you are like again, the verdict part, final thing is like n8n visual monitoring, built-in scheduling, click to debug, no ceiling on Claude Code, natural language, everything, one subscription, all projects. Uh, this is what the final statement from our side could be. n8n is great at what it does. Similarly, make, if we compare, so make versus n8n is a different topic, but if we put together both of them in similar category, so n8n make are great what they do. Claude Code does what n8n or make.com does, and everything they cannot. So that way, I think if you are coming to me, at least, and Window, I also like to have your opinion too. If somebody is coming to me and telling that they don't know n8n, they don't know Claude Code, where should they start building? I would definitely recommend that they should start with Claude ecosystem. Not maybe like not necessarily Claude Code. They will graduate to Claude Code. They start with Claude Cowork, and then come to Claude Code if required at all. Otherwise, I think more or less most of the automation could be handled by Claude Cowork too.
Yeah, I think I could agree with that as well. I think like people will start to evolve from like using a chatbot, right? I think if you want to have like more agentic capabilities, then you need to go from Claude or like ChatGPT into. You need to also first thing I think you need to use projects more, project
Right.
knowledge more, where the AI can reason towards your projects and then help you to basically brainstorming and reasoning way better. But then it cannot like execute, it cannot like run long running tasks, then I think you need to evolve using cloud cowork first, I guess. But i would but my argument is basically I think you can just keep it from cowork if you really want to get this idea of like AI agent that actually have more agentic capabilities and fast and and also customized as well. I think if you can jump to Cloud Code is way 10x better for me. But if you don't want to jump or like if you still kind of have concern or like the terminal is daunting for you, then you can go Cowork first and then get the sense of like the agentic capabilities or like executing files, deploying sub agents, and uh, have like context management as well
Right.
using
Right.
Cowork. But then I think soon enough you will evolve
Yeah.
into
Into
Cloud
Claude.
Code, and yeah, into Cloud Code. Eventually, you'll go into Cloud Code, and then yeah, you work with agents way more. Like I think
Right.
you will explore codecs, you will explore Cloud Code, maybe you will explore Open Code as well,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
eventually you'll explore OpenClaw. Maybe you can
Right.
explore like Perplexity computer or
Right.
Manus as well. That's
Right.
also another way that
Right.
people can evolve. But I guess like yeah, if you can just work or if you want simple things, then go co-work. I think I would also argue that you can also go to Manus or Perplexity computer. That's also another alternative. But if
Yeah.
you want to have more capabilities or like more have customizations, then Cloud Code is the way
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah, I think like for me, it's like instead of like learning about, at least personally, learning about like so many different aspects or do so many different tools which are out there, like Perplexity, Manners, right? Then OpenClaw. Even with that whole OpenClaw craze, you know that, right? I never shifted my systems to OpenClaw.
Yeah.
Even now, right? I started learning about it last month. I put together like my machine, had everything configured, started playing with it. The moment I started deployment of the first agent and started using it, Claude Code channels came in, right? And now I'm like, okay, I could have done it the same
Yeah.
thing with Claude Code channels. So, I mean, for me personally, like if my whole entire system is built around Claude Code, which is of course a dependency, on Claude ecosystem, but then you can
Yep.
graduate from dependency by having some sort of like a provider model where you can plug in your, Gemini CLI is there, Codex is there, right? You can
Exactly.
think about upgrading your systems across, but that system that you would put in place to run anything like your business or content thing, um, that needs to probably stay in like one ecosystem. And that's where, like,
Yeah.
if you can learn only one thing, if you want to learn only one thing, get started. I would highly recommend, like, you start learning Claude Code directly. Get off that
Yeah.
fear of this whole terminal thing. There's no terminal. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a plain interface where you're communicating in English. So that's like
Also,
our
like
take.
my yeah, yeah. Also, like one last thing, the argument is basically if you learn Cloud Code, you can the skill that you build using Cloud Code is transferable across multiple agents that
Yes,
I think
right,
we will have more in the future. So
right,
it's way easier for you to learn Cloud Code and then apply it to Codex or like apply it to Gemini CLI, maybe
right,
Open Code as well. So it's way easier. So I think that's kind of like a 10x skill that you can learn. So I would encourage people to learn it. But if you don't want, then go with Cowork. I think it's way easier.
right, right. And all of you watching, some of the questions are over here. Can Claude Code really build n8n workflow? Yes, exactly. The workflow that you saw, I built it with Claude Code only. 90% it will get you there if your product is correctly configured with MCP. Um, it is going to get you there. Which is easier to learn? Of course, start like Windows set, start with Cowork, gradually migrate to, or graduate to Claude Code, or even start with Claude Code, I will say. And then, like, how much it costs, we talked about make.com instead of n8n. Similar things, similar concepts. If you are a make.com guy, like, Windows is there, I am n8n. Similar thing applies to both of them. So that's our verdict. I think I hope, like, you were able to get an understanding or deep understanding on both the topics, n8n versus Claude Code that we had. We'll share all these with you in the final post that we'll make. The recording will also be there. So any questions,
Y-
last questions?
Yeah. Any questions from the viewers or audience so far? But yeah, I think just to so I think next week we will talk about Cloud Dispatch and what?
Claude channels. We were talking
Right.
about
Like
like OpenClaw versus Claude Code and
oh right.
Claude Code
Yeah.
channels
Yeah.
and Claude Dispatch. That's the next episode.
Yes. So next week we will talk about the cloud channels as well as the OpenClaw. How is it differentiate between each other? So yeah, tune in for the next week session. But I think QJ Ro have a question. Let me know if you have any
Yes.
questions.
Can you quickly type
If
it?
not,
Otherwise, we
yeah,
can close.
because we already
Or you can reach
exceed
out to us.
the
Yeah. We're
yes,
9 minutes
yeah,
over.
yeah, 9 minutes over.
Yeah. Yeah. QJ, you can like drop a DM to me or window. We can be happy to answer your question. Or, yeah, I've been working with
Oh,
Claude
he
Code
has
building
question.
in it and workflow,
Yeah.
and the amount of back and forth or bad code. You mentioned the versus part, right? I mean, like, QJ, it's all boils down to how you are structuring the project of Claude Code to talk to n8n. What skills have you configured? So you can touch base with me. Like, I can show you the entire setup that I have. I mean, you can borrow that and try to use it. I'm saying that it is not going to get you there 100% of the time. It's going to get you there 90% of the time. It will always output many code nodes instead of
Mhm.
like the regular nodes. So you need to keep on recursively asking it that, hey, you put together code nodes, I want like more native nodes. So that ways you have to do back and forth, but it is still faster than building n8n workflow by hand, even for a person like me who understand, like, almost like each and every aspect from basic to advanced of n8n. So that will be like my input to you. Otherwise, feel free to reach out to us. So I think, window,
All
it's
right.
time. Like, thank you
Yeah.
everyone for joining
Thank
in.
you everyone for joining. Let's see you in the next week.
Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.